about binoculars.
Has your mother or father ever told you to do something that made you think, this is crazy, I'm not doing this? Have you ever had that experience? Just about everybody has had that experience. I had it too. Many, many times. But one particular time, I learned something that you might find useful someday when you have to deal with a parent again, or maybe a boss who gives you advice that you think is crazy, or maybe even a spouse. Now this thing that happened to me happened many years ago, living back in New York with my mother and father. My mother in particular was the kind of person that gave me a lot of directions because she was a worrier. The kind of woman that would say, don't run around with a piece of paper because you get the corner in your eye. Which always made me think, well, this is too bad. Now my mother was about my height, maybe a little shorter, curly brown hair, a little heavier, and always worrying about it. Fortunately, I had my own sanctuary when I lived at home. I had my own room. We lived in a high-rise apartment in New York City. If you've never been to New York City, you've got to know that high-rise buildings are surrounded by high-rise buildings, surrounded by more high-rise buildings. You look out the window and there are buildings everywhere. And I was in one of those kinds of apartments. But fortunately, I had my own bedroom. I could sit in there, doing what I wanted, reading, exercising, sleeping, and not have to worry about my mother bothering me most of the time. One time though, the door was open, she came into the room. She said, Ken, don't sit in this room with the lights on and the blinds up at night. Nighttime. Same reaction as before. Oh, here we go again. Thinking, what is she going to say now? Ken, don't sit in here because people are watching you. Oh man, this is flipped. Now I was a teenager at that time, so compound my mother's worrying with the fact that teenagers don't respect parents at all, right? Anything she said was not going to make an impression on me. She repeated, said, Ken, don't sit in here with the lights on and the blinds open. People are looking at you through binoculars, and they're watching everything you're doing. Oh, Mom, come on, Mom, come on, stop worrying about everything like that. How do you know people are watching me with binoculars? I can't worry about this stuff, Mom. I said, Ken, I know. I see them when I look in their apartment with my binoculars. Can you imagine my mother in my bedroom when I'm not there, looking in other people's apartments, and suddenly she sees somebody looking back? Wow, it was shocking to me, too. I would have, if I had done that, I would have, whoa! Suddenly I realized, maybe my mother is worrying about something that is real. I went to the window, lowered the blinds, dimmed the lights, and ever since that time, I made sure my blinds were closed at night. But there was something more important to learn from that. I'd always dismissed my mother's directives, advice, as just her worries. That night I realized, yeah, she's worrying for a reason. She saw people over there. And that was the lesson. Sometimes people will drive you crazy with their advice. But it may be because they know what they're talking about. So you've all heard the saying, don't judge a person till you walk a mile in their shoes. Have you ever heard that saying? Maybe it's very American. Nobody ever has heard that. It means walk in their mile. It's an Indian saying. You say, don't judge a man until you walk a mile in his moccasins. The point being, you don't know what they're going through until you experience it too. Right? I said, don't judge your mother until you look in somebody else's apartment with her binoculars.